When I was in my first year of university, I remember we used to sit for dinner in the cafeteria, especially like we sit with a host of international students, Canadian students, and during when we are sitting, we are sharing stories, we are discussing our backgrounds, and one consistent topics that tend to arise when we're discussing, say, with the fellow Canadian students or people that tend to grow up in the West is what is it like living in Africa? Do you keep pet lions? Do you have lions running around? Do you have zebras all over the place? Like rhinoceros and everything. Do you see them every day? And so many Africans tend to be bumped by those kind of questions. They feel like, what? Do you think we live in a jungle? This was like 2011 ish time. And this was the. So there were times when we would have to say, no, that's not true. That's not the way things are. Or the times, like this particular time, my friend played into it and he said, yes, we keep lions in our cages. We let them out to roam later on if they want. And later on at night, they come back and we keep them in back in. We have zebras in our backyard. They're always just there. We just, you know. And some of those people will buy them like, oh, yeah, really? In particular, there's one particular girl I think my friend was telling me about in this case, but that he thought that she was dumb. But anyway, fast forward, and the thing is, some of the more parts of the conversation that arise would be when they're asking, so is Africa like a top? Is Nigeria like a third world country? And I remember this, my friend, this same particular friend, he would argue. So like, he would argue aggressively and be like, no, do you think that Nigeria is a third world country? And don't get me wrong, because the way they thought is that we don't have Wi-Fi, we don't have roads, we don't have cities, because they don't necessarily know what Africa is like. And for my friend, it's like, no, we have all these things. Nigeria's not third world countries. We have universities too. We went to school, this kind of things. And generally, he didn't like the term of Nigeria being defined as a third world country. Me, on the other hand, I never really cared. I knew where I came from. So I was then fast forward to this year. I was intending to travel to Nigeria for the first time in over 10 years. And because I needed to see my family. And I remember this particular day in the airport, he called me and I was telling him, and he asked me, like, how you feeling? I'm like, I'm so excited to go back home, man. It's been a long time. I'm excited to see my family and everything. And he told me, yeah, that's good. That's good. And about the country itself, because I told him, like, man, it'd be nice to see Nigeria itself again and everything. And he was like, don't expect too much. In fact, he says, I want to tell you this, but don't take it the wrong way, but you're going to be disappointed. Now, this is going to lead me now to my next point. African adage that goes like this: a man does not test the depth of a river by stepping his 2 foot into the river. This is my way of you trying to give you some insights or some guides into what it is like when you're going to be in traveling to like a third world country or to Africa. This applies in general to all this, to traveling to third world countries or to even in Africa itself. So the first thing, electricity. When I first got into the plane first landed in the Abuja International Airport, it touched down. I was looking at the stuff. I was like, nice landscape. It's full of red, though I don't like red. The soil is red. Yeah, mud. But It looked all red, but I thought it was all good. The beautiful landscape. I don't get to see that from this part of Canada. Like, not that Canada doesn't have beautiful landscapes. I've seen them, but it's nice to look at nature and like the whole landscapes when I was landing. I went to the airport, waiting for my luggage come from the carousel because my dad's friend was waiting outside of the airport. You know, you're not allowed to get in. I don't know why, but yeah, you had to wait outside for me. So while waiting for my luggage to come from the carousel, power went out 3 times. 3 good times. This is an international airport, mind you. This is not even in local airports that doesn't even necessarily happen. I just thought I looked at myself and I looked at all the other internationals there and I thought, oh no, this is not a good look. I was greeted. It was almost like I was greeted to be like, "Welcome to Nigeria," and even so. The reason I'm saying this is because even if you look at Nigeria, is one of the we produce electricity for the African countries. I don't know, there's export or whatever, but we do, and we have so many dams, but we don't get consistent electricity. Even in some parts of Nigeria, people have not received light, or call it light. They don't receive power for months. Like the light has not blinked once. So it's something you would have to take into consideration. A lot of people use generators. They will say like a borrowed light cannot give you more light than your own. So I guess that's why other people go to use generator. You may also have to bring a power bank. The second is malaria. Before you come to travel to other, say, third world countries, most parts of the world, most third world countries like, say, Africa, some parts of Asia, you may have to get, not, there's no malaria shots, I don't think, but you have to take the malaria tablets before getting in. Or, you may not do that, but on the way coming back to your country where you normally reside, you may want to take some malaria tablets to kind of like, because malaria can stay in the system for a while, go in hibernation, and kind of later resurface. And the thing is, malaria is kind of like one of the largest deleters of people in Africa. So it's something to take into consideration. Even when you want to look at the mosquitoes, I say the mosquitoes here are really fat. Maybe that's evidence of, people here eat a lot. The mosquitoes here are fat and slow. Like you see them buzzing like, and you're like, I see you, I can see you. Why is they coming? They try to suck your blood and you just smack them, and just big splatter on your body. And you're usually here only during the summers, and they don't actually even infect you with malaria or anything. Yeah, but the ones in Africa, I don't want to say these mosquitoes are hungry. They look nimble. They're skinny. The moment he hears, you just got bit. They're fast. They're just like, everything in Africa is athletic. These mosquitoes are extremely athletic, like really quick. So yeah, I used to try and sleep with a net, when I went to Africa. It gets hot, and uncomfortable. Plus, these mosquitoes, you never know how they even sneak in. Those guys are they are very smart. I like to think the Canadian mosquitoes are very slow and very fat and dumb, but these African mosquitoes, they're really, really quick. It's like they have experience. I don't know. They don't live too long, but it's like the I don't know how they transfer the experience to the next generation. These mosquitoes are smart. I don't know how they go under the nets, and some nights I go bit. Anyway, you probably want to take a malaria tablet by the time you're leaving your country to ensure because malaria is like if you think you've gotten the virus that just came around before, you think it was bad. Malaria is 10 times worse because I had that before. I've experienced having malaria and I've experienced having the virus. Yes, the virus is bad. It's like on a scale 7/10, but malaria is like 10. You're going to be hot and cold inside. You're going to have loss of appetite. It's going to be crazy. And most people get that like 3, 4 times in a year, sometimes 6 times in a year. That's how rampant it is. That's why it's something you have to take into consideration. So a word is enough for the wise, like the Africans would say. The third point, the third thing I experienced when I was in Africa was traffic. When I mean traffic, when I was being driven down from the airport, I was. It's like my dad's friend was driving me to the hotel, and I remember distinctively it was like every car going by would just honk before going by. I was like, what's going on now? We're driving not in the right lane. I thought maybe we were in the middle of the lane initially, but in the car going again just past like and honk again, and I'm like, everyone is honking. By the time I arrived home, it's wild. It's very, very wild. In Canada, when a car is going and there's pedestrians, they stop, you know? But in Africa, Nigeria, they're not stopping for you. It's like you are running, and sometimes some of the pedestrians have become so accustomed to it and smart around it that a car is coming like this, they just like stop in the middle or the lane. The car goes, calculate it, and they just get out. Uh, yeah, so these drivers they are not stopping, and the the they almost hit you. In short, they would probably hit you, but if they almost hit you, they'd be like, "Waka, your papa, he dey mad. You won't make I keep passing, that kind of thing." Like they will scream at you, like, are you an idiot? Why are you in the middle of the road? Why are you doing this kind of thing?" That's how things are, and there's like this kekena pep. Oh shit! I don't know if you know what a kekena pep is, but there's a kekena pep in them. It's the cars are so close, like in proximity with the kekena pep. It's like lanes don't really matter. There's a pedestrian going past, you're honking to let the pedestrian know you're going. There is a car coming across, the honking. Honking is one way or they use in communicating over there like this. I can drive in Canada. I can drive in Nigeria. I think I'm going to get into an accident. There's virtually almost no rules. Now, this doesn't apply to all parts of Nigeria, but majority. And when I mean majority, I mean like 98%, maybe 98.9%. It's like it's very rowdy and very unorganized is the term, at least compared to what I've experienced over here. Is very disorganized, and I believe if you're someone that's going to rent a vehicle and you say you want to drive over there, you're probably going to bash the vehicle, especially if you're coming from the western side. So it's almost like, at least to me, I wouldn't take that option because I actually thought about it before, but it's very risky. I find there are gutters also on the sides of the road. We don't have gutters here. You have drainages, and they don't. Especially if you're driving here, you'd see the gutters. It may scare you. If you get too close, your car may just get over the gutter. I don't know, but sometimes roads are extremely narrow with gutters on the side. I wouldn't do it. Anyway, it was very, very, very rowdy. It's a yeah. There are basically no rules. There are no rules. That's for the third point. Can add as you go. The housefly that does not listen to the elders is the housefly that will follow the dead body into the grave. For my fourth point, is going to be I'm going to talk about corruption, the culture, insecurity. I'm going to into one, tie them into a bunch because I don't know how to separate them given my experience. If you're coming to Africa, you have to worry about how you're going to move, where you're going to go, because the truth is, by the time you're stepping your foot into the ground, even as you think as a black person or as a west looking, like westerner, like the way maybe if you're even, like white, blue, whatever color. If you're white, definitely it's going to be obvious that you're probably a foreigner. But even as a black person, people are going to tell. It's almost like they can sniff it. I remember when I came and I go to at the airport, they can tell where you're from. Even at the hotel, you open your mouth and they already know you're not from here. So, and for someone like me, even my Nigerian pidgin is something that when I speak, my friends tell me not to speak because pidgin is a way you can communicate generally in most parts of Nigeria. But for me, it's like when I speak my pidgin, they always tell me, "Why do you throw a little bit of an accent or some phone in there? Like it sounds really terrible." So, for the first thing, I couldn't really like communicate like a local. So it's one of the things you have to know. And as someone that's not from there, there's some advantages and disadvantages. But generally, in terms of security, you have to watch how you move because these places are not necessarily the safest. Even if you look at the way the Canadian government ranks Nigeria, especially for travelers, or Africa, in some certain parts of Africa, you can see that they don't rank certain places very well. They tend to say like you may go to certain places at your own risk. So yeah, you have to know you're not supposed to go out at certain times at night because going out at night, it's not like the West. You can go out at night, and especially as a woman, you don't necessarily want to travel alone because even as a guy, it's dangerous enough. But as a girl, don't do it. Like there's also the culture thing. Women are supposed to have the place generally. Like I've heard of some black American women that'll go to other African countries and think they can talk smack to the men, and sometimes the men will just smack them like who do you think you are? Just because you have enough money or whatever, to them it doesn't, to many African men, it doesn't necessarily mean much. They don't necessarily care. So it's one of the things you have to take into consideration as a traveler. And there is corruption. There's tons and tons of corruption. When I was going to the hotel from, when I was going to the airport from the hotel, I learned, because I had dreadlocks at the time, I learned that people that had dreadlocks in the country were viewed as scammers or people that have money. Someone did they look at them as scammers. I had dreadlocks at the time. This was my first night. So I had to pull out my hat from the bag and I had to make sure I hid my dreadlocks because see the cops with the police. I don't call them cops. This is a policeman. Canadian cuffs. Anyway, when the police see you, they're gonna pull you aside. Either even you're in the car or even if you're walking on the street, they're gonna pull you aside and they're gonna extort you. And if you don't be willing to give them enough money, my mom told me you could disappear. Yeah, because not there are no rules. There are rules on paper, but there are no rules in reality. People disappear. So I was being driven from the airport, from the hotel to the airport, and there was a police encampment, I would call it, because there was like sacks of sand. The mobile police kind of built over to ensure that, almost like to visualize to other people that this is where they're going to be stopping cars and checking them. Not because they want to ensure the safety or anything. It's just because like they want to extort people of their money. They're not trying to search for anything. They're just trying to make people give them some money. And prime targets are people that are going to look like scammers, people like myself, people that are kind of foreigners. I mean, depending on the kind of foreigner, they probably won't stop because they would think that you know somebody for you to be in the country, in a sense. So yeah, someone that has a nice car, a young person. The police over there hate young people. So the we're going to the airport. The mobile police, you see them, like one of the mobile police I remember was in, hey, come, hey you, to the side, back, you know, that kind of stuff. Hey you, go. So, and in my case, as I was going, my dad's friend was driving me to the airport. My dreads was tucked on top of my hat, but I didn't tuck it in properly. So I was sitting on the right side. My dad's friend was driving on the left side because it's like left side driving in Nigeria, whereas in Canada it's like right side. But anyway, wait, no, sorry, it's the same thing. My bad. So the cop was on the right side, and commanding the cars to go left or park or to move, and the police. So as we were going, he came to us. He told us, like, hey, go. But I think when he turned to the side, because he was so close to me, he turned to the side, and I guess he saw part of my dreads dangling down. And he, last minute, I think he wanted to tell us to stop, but we're already halfway, and he moved backwards. Someone was like, I could see the hesitation in his face. He's almost like he really wanted to tell us to park so that he could ask us for some money. But it was already almost too late. And my dad's friend is like, we're just going to the airport. He has to catch a flight. You know, that kind of thing. And even in the in the eastern part of the country, my cousin was trying to tell me that if I had gone to the eastern part of the country with my dreadlocks the way it is, somebody would have gotten a clipper and shaved my head. Even if I'm in the middle of just walking on the road, they just shave my head and later on tell them that I need to pay them for them cutting my hair, because it's against the culture in the East, especially. So that is one thing to take into consideration. The other thing too is when I was there, I heard that there was the Biafrans and some rally going around. Some, soldiers kicked the bucket in the process, about five, and that led to almost like a shutdown. These things happen a lot, so it's almost like you have to watch how you move. The other thing too, people are actually very blunt. They're very, very blunt over there. I remember checking into that hotel that I was going to leave to go to the airport, and my dad's friend was helping me in the process, and he just go into around the hotel, and it's like, this hotel safe. When I not get chair for here, like, when I be top hotel, that kind of thing. These are the kind of things that you don't say in Canada. You don't walk into a hotel and be like, you don't have a fork, or you served me with this, you don't have a knife. Are you sure you're a top hotel? That kind of thing. Like, people are going to look at you over here like, this person's just rude. Like, what the hell? But over the it people are very blunt. If you're short or if you're ugly, they tell you that to your face. If you're fat, they'll tell you that to your face. They wouldn't hide it. In some ways, I actually like that because it's very refreshing to hear someone just speak the truth. You know, they have no real malice in it. They just speaking things the way they see it. Whereas over here, it's like you have to conform. You have to, even though that's not what you really mean. But yeah, I rambled a lot, but that's all I really have to say for now. I just try to summarize it so quickly so that it doesn't take a lot of time. But if you enjoyed what you watched, yeah, leave a like and subscribe. But otherwise, thank you. Have a good one, people.